Right then, so you join me in my McCann. We're on our way into town, London that is. We're going to be having a little chit chat about the pricing of a McCann and how much it actually costs me to run from month to month. So the car itself is about £39,000 when I bought it, and that was about a year ago now. So I've sort of got a good idea of what it's costing me every month, including fuel, including all the other bills, maintenance, tyres, etc, etc. So thinking about it, we've got the monthly payments, which are actually, let me start from the beginning. We've got £1,000 in, and we've got £636 per month on the monthly payments, and we've got about a 20 grand balloon. So thinking about that from the general perspective is, with a 20 grand balloon at the end, you've got to have made up enough over every month versus the lack of depreciation, hopefully, on the car to come out with something at the end. This is on a PCP finance plan. If you pay every month but the car depreciates rapidly enough that your car at the end of the 4-year term or 3-year term, however long you've got it, isn't worth 20 grand that your balloon payment is, you're going to have to pay to get rid of your car, essentially, which is where the finance really gets to you. But if you are sensible with your car choosing options and you pick something that has decent residuals, then by the end of that time you're actually going to come out with a few grand, maybe more, depending on how good residually your car is. So for this car, for example, we're working to £636 a month with 20 grand balloon. This car was 39 grand when I got it a year ago. It's now worth maybe 34, something like that. So in the year I've lost 5 grand, technically. If I were to sell it now, I'd be 5 grand less than what I had. But I have had a Porsche Macan for a year. So you work out that how you will, whether you think it's worth it or not. So based on £636 a month, roughly £250 a month on fuel. So let's say, what's that, so let's say we're working at 650 just for round figures. So 650 at 250 is 900, and then you've got £100 a month insurance for me at 23 years old. So I'm working £100 a month insurance on top. That puts us up to £1 grand. And then you've got to think about tyres. If you've got 4 tyres on this every year, if you're driving a reasonable amount of miles, which I do, and you're actually pushing on, you know, you're a little bit naughty when you drive, you're probably looking at a set of tyres every year. 15 to 20,000 miles a year, you're probably looking at a set of tyres every year. So that's £1,000. So you work that back, that's about 80 something pound a month. So we're now on 1,080, you know, but let's say worst case scenario, including fit-in and whatever else, you might be pushing 1,100 now at this point. You've then got to pay your tax, which is £200 a year on this, and any other mechanical faults or issues that you might come up against. Well, in this case, you probably aren't really going to come up against any in this car in the, you know, in a regular year, but over a longer period you might find yourself coming into some mechanical issues and sort of some long-term maintenance. I mean, now at this stage, I'm a year in, I've currently got an engine warning light on, I've got a tyre pressure light on, which I don't have a locking wheel nut for some reason. I managed to lose that, so I'm going to have to fund that. So all in all, you're looking £1,100, maybe £1,200 a month just to run the car. So you got to work out whether that's worth it for you. And also, more than that, you got to think this isn't even like a fun car. This is just a daily car. This is like a SUV. It's a 3-litre diesel, 258 horsepower. It's not a spaceship. You know, it's just a general runaround. It's nice and big and comfy, and as a daily, it's blooming excellent. It does the job perfectly. But if you're looking for anything more than that, and you're looking for something a little bit more fun and sporty, you're going to be forking out more on fuel. And if you're talking in the same price bracket of 40 grand, probably looking at like £1,400 a month to run it, if we're talking actual figures. So, you know, when you compare, really, oh, I've nearly had a shunt. If you talk about that generally, and you see these all the time, these cars, £1,400 a month. That's more than what people pay on their mortgage or on their flats for rent or whatever it might be. So once you add all these numbers up, is it really worth it to have a nice car? Or are you better off just taking something cheap, you know, paying a couple of £100 a month on finance and working with that as your sort of base level, and then once you progress in life, maybe build up from there? But I've sort of thrown myself in at the deep end at 22, 23 years of age, and actually forgot how old I was then for a second. Thrown myself in at the deep end and sort of finding myself that I'm coming unstuck. And as trying to do car YouTube as I'm starting out, you got to think it's so difficult for someone at a young age to be pushing that as their sort of plan going forward, if that's what you're trying to do. I mean, as car YouTube goes, you've got to have the best of the best and the highest level of cars, and that's what you've got to be working towards to be able to do this. So for me, at £1,200 a month on my Macan, is that really the best car for me going forward to film videos on and, you know, get the most exciting content? It's not exciting, is it? It's a daily car, you know. It's not like your Audi R8 or your Ferrari or whatever it might be. It's not like that. This is just a day-to-day run-of-the-mill Macan. You know, some people might say, oh, that's a bit snobby of you, but when you actually get to the nitty-gritty and you're a bit more sort of plain and cutthroat with yourself, you're going to realise that actually you've got to be forking out a fair bit to fund this sort of channel. Right, so if we're talking between £1,100 and £1,200 a month just to run the car with no issues going, like no problems with it, just day-to-day running, and we're looking at £1,100 a month, do you really think it's worth it to have this sort of car as your daily, a 40 grand car? You let me know in the comments what you think. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and stay tuned for the next one.